Hello there YouTube, and welcome back to Building Made Easy. Today I am going to be discussing Kukulkan because he was the most requested guy for today's video. So Kukulkan is another mage, but he's a different kind of mage than Anubis, which we discussed last time. Kukulkan is more bursty. He does all of his damage in one kind of hit. The only exception to this is his tornado. But we want to make sure that we're, say, promoting his burst attacks, because as Kukulkan, you are always poking and running back. Anyway, let's dive into the specifics of the build, and I'll give you some explanations and tips along the way. So, to start the game, I am building the Tier 1 of Book of Thoth and Mage's Blessing. Mage's Blessing because mana, and then Book of Thoth because I am rushing that item, and spoiler alert to what I'm about to say, your first item needs to be Book of Thoth! Yeah, so Book of Thoth and then Kukulkan's character passive are pretty much the same thing. And if you build that, you're really getting a lot more benefit out of both. So you want to make sure that you're rushing Book of Thoth to get those stacks online, because it is a hell of a good item on this guy. Now, moving along to our next item, I build boots. I build the purple boots, the pen boots, the power boots, whatever you want to call them. We are building them, not the cooldown boots. Now, the reason for this is because you are building Book of Thoth, so mana's not going to be an issue. You're going to get CDR later in the build, but you do need a bit of flat pen to make sure that you can get through these people early, because as with other mages, a little bit of flat pen goes a very long way. Now, next on our build, I do go into the first and only major penetration item in the build, and that is once again Spear the Magus. Now, usually when you're building a burst mage, you want to build Obsidian Shard or something with more flat pen or percent pen on it, but my logic is as follows. So the tornado does ticking damage, and that works really well with Spear the Magus. Your burst abilities typically aren't going onto tanks. You're trying to poke away the carries with your 1, and then you're placing that 3 typically on you, and that's where the tanks and the assassins are diving onto you. Those guardians, warriors, assassins are the ones that typically have more defense. So if you have your Spear of the Magus and not Obsidian Shard, you are still going to get a lot of benefit out of it, because they're going to be diving onto you. And then you can still do really close to true damage with the penetration that comes on Spear of the Magus and then your pen boots to all the squishies. Now, the last item that I consider to be core with Kukulkan is Chronos Pendant. The CDR and then the CDR passive as well give you more than enough CDR to sustain yourself. His ultimate base has an 80-second cooldown. So 20% plus 2 seconds for 10 seconds, blah blah blah. That ult comes up a lot and it hits hard. With just a little bit of setup, this character can decimate entire teams. Anyways, Chronos Pendant, get it. Now, once again, for the last 2 items, it really depends on what you want to go for. In this game of Arena that I'm playing, no one really was touching me until the end of the game. And as such, I just kept going into more utility stuff. An item that's really great on Kukulkan is Gem of Isolation, because if they get stuck in the tornado, they are slowed for a god-awful long amount of time. His 1 already slows, so if you stack slows, you guys know how much I love stacking slows. And then there's also, I don't know, if you really need more penetration, go into Obsidian Shard, because it will help your bursting abilities. There's stuff like that. There's a lot of options, but something I do not recommend going into is the new Rod of Tahuti. It does not work well. Honestly, I'm trying to think of gods that could use that item, and I'm struggling to come up with them. But since I do know it's going to come up in the comments, me personally, when I am finishing up a Kukulkan build in the ideal circumstances, I am building into Gem of Isolation and then Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead passive's great, and since you are going to have a lot of mana a lot of the time as Kukulkan, that shield is actually pretty significant. Anyways, that's all the time that I have for this build video. Now, before you guys click away, I do have a poll question for you up in the top right corner. Just click that I. Anyways, like, subscribe, all that other stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and I think I'm going to start doing this series twice a week. Anyways, this is Keltick, signing off. Have yourselves a casual day.